Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes' Illuminati, the man who rules the world, takes on the head of the global elite in this all-new action-packed John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' Illuminati in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. When it comes down to foundational Black Americans, we are not welcome in the workforce. Now, a lot of Black people, especially many of us Gen Xers, were raised to believe that we would be able to get a fair shake in the American workforce, and if we went out here and worked hard, we would be able to get the jobs that we dreamed of. That was the message that was sent to us in much of America's media. However, when you get out into that workforce, that's where you start to experience the racism and see that not much has changed as related to the American workforce and Black people. Now, when it comes down to most Black people who do get hired for jobs, we're not really hired on merit. No, we're not hired on merit at all by many white employers. No, a lot of times when it comes to white employers and Black workers, especially heterosexual Black men, we're only hired because of an agenda that employer has, and because that employer is focused on pushing an agenda. What they want to do is not see this Black person achieve on the merits of their skills, but what they want to see is an outcome as related to a series of axioms that have been established by white racists ever since the days of Jim Crow. And even before that, I would say even in slavery in the antebellum South, because when it comes down to many of these white individuals, when they go out here and look to hire a Black person, especially a Black man, what they want to again see is this outcome come out as related to how this Black person behaves, and use that as a standard for doing business overall. That's the reason why they go out here and hire certain Black people based not on qualifications, but based on seeing an outcome. And many Black people, we sit there and believe, oh, we got hired based on the merits. No, you never did get hired based on the merits. No, you were hired because what this white person wants to see, or many of these other non-Black people want to see, is that outcome come out as related to the axioms they have been told about how Black people behave. Now, when it comes down to many of these employers, what they want to see from Black women is they want to see that loudmouth woman with the big mouth and the bad attitude. And that's what they want to see because they want to be comfortable in the presence of Black people. And the Black people they want to hire are the ones that make them feel comfortable, the ones that make them feel comfortable about seeing the stereotypes from Black people, seeing their ideas about Black people being presented to them, and not see a real picture of Black people. No, they don't want to see a real picture of Black people, because seeing a real picture of actual Black people scares many white people to death, and it scares many whites and non-Blacks to death, because the whole idea of seeing a Black person who is hardworking, very honest, and very professional means that they can't sit on their laurels and basically relax and be comfortable in their lives. No, if they have to deal with actual Black people who actually can go out here and work hard, it means that they have to deal with actual competition, and that's not what many want in the system of white supremacy. No, many in the system of white supremacy, what they want are goodies, giveaways, and guarantees, and the guarantee that they will be able to get the goodie and the giveaway of a job without having to actually worry about actual competition. And what they want to see is from Black people who they know can't compete, and put those Black people in those positions, again, not because they are the most qualified, but because they want to see an outcome. They want to see an outcome of failure, and they want to see that outcome of failure because that outcome of failure makes them feel comfortable about their position in white supremacy. Because they know if this black person cannot go out here and actively look to compete against them, they have nothing to actually fear, and they can go out here and coast through life getting their goodies, giveaways, and guaranteed positions all throughout life without having to actually do any sort of real work whatsoever. That's what many people want in the workforce for themselves, whether they be white or non-black. They want a guarantee that someone will remain at the bottom as they are guaranteed a position to rise to the top. And in order to ensure that, this is why they really, again, go out here and rig the job market looking not for the best qualified black person, but looking for the black person who they believe will go out here and fit the stereotypes that they feel comfortable with. And when it comes down to those stereotypes, again, they want people who, again, will be out here be able to make them feel comfortable about their position in life. Again, this is why when you go to many jobs, you see the fat, loud black woman in many positions. This is why you see her, even though she has a bad attitude and is unprofessional, she is there not because she's grossly unqualified and unprofessional. No, she's there because she fits the narrative that white supremacy wants to see about black women, and she fits the axiom that they want to see about the black woman being a sapphire and being a mammy. This is why you'll see these loud, fat black women in many of these positions as related to the white supremacist agenda. You'll see these black women in these jobs. Again, any other person, if they were that rude and unprofessional, would have been fired, but this person is allowed to stay on the job, and allowed to stay on the job because, again, they are fitting into white supremacy's corporate agenda as related to black people, and making sure that they're fitting the axiom that the white supremacist wants to see. Again, this is all about their agenda, and their agenda is not to see slim, attractive black women. This is why you don't see many slim, attractive black women in offices or anywhere, because slim, attractive black women represent competition to white women, but fat, loud black women, again, fit the comfort zone of many white racists, and they allow them also an opportunity to go out here and emasculate many black men out here in the workforce by saying this woman basically can work like a man, and since she can work like a man, we don't need to have these black men here, and they don't really want the heterosexual black man in the workforce. No, they don't want the heterosexual black man in the workforce unless he is fitting many of these axioms, because the one thing they want from black men, like I talked about in my previous video, Workplace Pookies, is, again, they're not hiring that black man based on his skills or the merits of his education. No, he's hired basically to fit an agenda as related to proving these axioms to be true. That's what happens with many black men, again, who do get these jobs. Again, they're not hired because they are good at their jobs, because that's not the reason why the white supremacist wants the black person on the job. No, they don't want the black person on the job to do actual work. No, they want the black person to be, again, this, in many places, the workplace clown who's out here telling lots of jokes, or the black guy who's constantly coming in late because he can't keep track of time, because that's what racists want to see. They want to see a black person, again, being that lazy guy, or being that guy who's out here stealing lean cuisines out of the office refrigerator, or see that black guy, again, who's out here, the ones that is out here womanizing and being a player. Again, they want to see their ideas of black people being presented to them, and they want to see those ideas of black people being presented to them so that they can have their smooth world, a world where they can see the black people who make them feel comfortable about their place in white supremacy and white society. And as they have their place in white society, know that they won't have to ever deal with the threat of a black person ever competing against them, because these people who participate in the stereotypes, they believe are no threat to them. And since they believe that these individuals are not going to be hardworking, because in their minds all black people are lazy, they want that validation, they want that narrative being presented to them, and this is why they hire certain black people instead of looking for a black person who's based on the qualifications. Now, many of these white racists out here, they'll deny that this is what goes on in the American workforce, but this is something I have seen over my time trying to find jobs, and even at jobs I've worked. Again, it's not about the black person being qualified. No, it's about the black person basically fitting an axiom. Again, they want to see a certain outcome, and this is why they love to hire, again, mammies. This is why they love to hire pookies. This is why they love to hire hood rats, and this is why they love to hire all these bootlicks out here, because again, they are not hiring a black person to again go out here and work the way they expect a white person to work. No, what they want to see are their ideals. They want to see their ideals about black people and not see the reality as related to black people in the workforce. And that was something that I saw way back as far as 2002 when I went to a family member. They had suggested I go interview at the law firm. They were getting ready to leave. And when I went to do that interview, that's where I first experienced this type of racism. Now, when I went to go at that interview, and the first thing that I did, again, I came there in a nice suit, came there ready to show how I was able to work. And the first thing that this guy says during the interview is that he wants to hire somebody else. Now, from my training at Strive, I had learned, okay, that's a red flag when somebody says they want to hire somebody else. And again, show the open disrespect, because what happens here is that these guys saw a black man who basically they feared as competition, and this is where their competitive jealousy kicked in, and they were talking about not hiring me during the interview, but talking about hiring somebody else. Now, I was really young back then. I was about 27 years old. It was a law firm I was interviewing at, and I was trying to be, Mr. Professional, instead of understanding that I had been disrespected. And the only course of action you would take in that situation is you would have to get up and say, thank you for the interview, thank you for your time, and then just to walk out. I didn't understand that was what you're supposed to do. No, I didn't want to put my family member on the spot, so I stayed at that interview, not understanding that, again, this was disrespect directed at me, and again, directed at me as a black man, because they were uncomfortable. No, they were uncomfortable because they saw a black man who was looking like direct competition to them. And the way many whites deal with competition and non-blacks deal with competition from black men is to go out here and passive-aggressively disrespect you to your face, and then look for you to remain professional. And again, because you're not fitting into their agenda. Their agenda is to see that huckabucking, joke-cracking, wisecracking black guy, or that womanizing player black guy. And when you are sitting there, a serious black man, this makes many of these racists extremely uncomfortable, makes many of them uncomfortable, because seeing a black man who's ready for work makes them scared, because they know they can't coast on goodies, giveaways, and guarantees at their jobs, and they know that they would actually have to compete, and that's the thing that makes them upset. Well, especially when many of these white women and white men get in the presence of a heterosexual black man. And even with non-blacks, they get really uncomfortable in the presence of a heterosexual black man who's looking like he's ready for work, looking like he's ready to compete, they get scared when they get in the presence of black men. And they get scared because they know, again, you can't coast on your homies, you can't coast on your boys, you can't coast on, again, somebody hooking you up. No, you're going to have to actually go out here and work. And that's what that represents to people. Again, when you see a heterosexual black man who's about his business. And that's what I experienced at that law firm. That was the first time, and I didn't understand it, again, as related to how it works in the workplace. And as time went on, I blew that interview off. I wrote it off because I said, okay, if he's talking about hiring somebody else, he ain't thinking about me. But then about 7 months later, around, because I took the interview in August, and it was around, no, not 7 months later, but it was around November. They called me up talking about they wanted to offer me a receptionist job. And with me having no job prospects, I wanted to pass on it, but then my family wanted me to take the job, and I took the job. And again, as I took the job, this is where I learned more about the racism as related to white supremacy and jobs. I took the job at the law firm. It only lasted 2 weeks, and it only lasted really 2 weeks because these individuals, what they wanted was to, again, see us in certain things as related to business. But the whole thing is they wound up with tripping up over their business because they had many of these what people would call bagel clients. And when they saw a black man at their front desk as a receptionist, this made many of those clients extremely uncomfortable, and it made them even more uncomfortable to hear a heterosexual black man in his regular voice right now, like I'm talking to you, talking to them over the phone. And what really made them uncomfortable was not the black man talking to them, but the idea that this black person was, again, one, representing this guy's company, and two, this black man was in a position of power, because even if this is a low-level receptionist job, the whole idea of a black person being able to have any sort of authority to tell a white person anything, that makes many of these people very uncomfortable, white and non-black. Makes them uncomfortable. Oh, you've got this heterosexual black man, again, sitting in this position of power. Now, they don't mind the black woman being a receptionist. No, they don't mind the black woman being a receptionist. They don't mind a black woman, again, telling them things, because that's just another mammy in their eyes. But the idea of a black man having any sort of power, again, this is why they don't like to hire black men for things like front desk positions, because just him being there and, again, can tell me yes or no. This makes many, again, of these racists and white supremacists in the system of white supremacy, makes them uncomfortable, and even makes a lot of folks, again, uneasy, because, oh, who is this black man? Who is he to have power? And again, that's how insecure people are in the system of white supremacy as related to the world of work. They're extremely insecure about the idea of a heterosexual black man, again, being in their workforce, being in their front desk positions, being in places like being a receptionist or being at a library circulation desk. It makes them uncomfortable. No, they only want to see, again, black women, because black women, again, make them feel comfortable. And also, with that black woman is there, they feel like, okay, this is a mammy. I don't have to worry about her, or she's some sapphire. Again, don't have to worry about her, because they're seeing their stereotypes, they're getting their axioms being proven to them. And again, the axioms proven to them are, okay, here's this black woman, she's got a bad attitude, she's from the streets, she's basically, again, getting by, so she needs this job. That's one of the axioms the white racist wants to see and non-black racists want to see. And when it comes down to the black man, they want to see an axiom of failure, because what they want to believe is that if you give a black man any sort of opportunity, they will go out here and wind up failing. And a lot of times we don't wind up failing because, again, we can't do the job. But in some cases, we wind up getting set up because the white supremacists can't stand seeing a black person who's ready to compete. And because they can't stand seeing a black person who's ready to compete, what they do is invent things to fit into their narrative, to make their axiom come true. And that's what happened to me at that law firm job. Again, this guy, when he saw that I was, again, making his clients uncomfortable because I was a black man who, again, was competent and capable, again, of doing the job. Again, and that makes them uncomfortable because when you see a black person, again, they don't want to see a black person who has that power as related to their presence. What they do is start inventing things as related to trying to make you look like the bad guy. And that's what happened. Again, the guy was talking about how I was being hostile on the phone, and I was just talking to them just like I'm talking to you right now. But they project that onto you. Again, project that onto you because they want to see certain axioms. Again, see certain axioms regarding black behavior. Oh, this is the angry black man. This is the angry black man, and he's also the lazy black man. That was also what they projected onto me. Oh, he's not doing anything, even though I'm only been there for just about a week. Don't know anything about the job because, again, I have to be trained to do the job. I don't know nothing about the job just yet until I get trained. But it was all based on their fears, again, of a black man being out here and being, again, somebody who they believe represented competition. And because they believe I represented competition, what they didn't, they were having this, again, buyer's remorse about hiring me. And I really believe that they didn't expect to hire me because they sent me an email, and I guess they expected me to just not really pay it any attention. Because when it comes to white folks, what they want to do, again, is things as related to keeping up appearances and making it look like, oh, I want to do something, when in actuality, I'm hoping that I'm hoping this person doesn't really get the response. Because again, I look back at 2002, again, you sent me an email offering me the job, but when usually people want to offer somebody a job, again, they offer them that job almost immediately. That means that they really want to work with you. And when somebody comes to you, again, several months later and offers you a job, it's just a formality as related to things, and they're hoping that you wind up turning them down. That's what I saw, looking back at that time in my life, But the thing is, I learned a lot of lessons about racism in the workplace. I learned about how, again, when it comes to black people, again, we're never hired based on our qualifications in many cases. I'm not going to say all. Sometimes people do hire a black person based on their qualifications, but a lot of cases, it's basically about white racists seeing their agenda and non-black racists seeing their agenda regarding the stereotypes they have about black people, seeing their ideas about black people being presented to them in real time, passively, and then aggressively using that to go out here and deny other black people an opportunity to work at that job because they've seen this idea of black people that makes them feel comfortable and gives them that out and that excuse to be able to disqualify black people from being able to work at their companies. That's what they want to see. And when they can't get to see that whole idea being presented to them in real time, what they do is start looking to invent narratives about those black employees, invent narratives to say, oh, this guy is lazy, this guy isn't competent, this guy doesn't care, he's not really being aware. Meanwhile, if a white girl comes in with pretty blonde hair and participates in all sorts of ratchet behavior, such as coming in late, coming in and again not doing her work up to standard, this same white male or the same group of white females will sit there and give her a pass. And they'll give her a pass because, again, it's not about that person's qualifications. It's about keeping the system of goodies, giveaways, and guarantees in place for their group. And again, when it comes down to especially the heterosexual black man, he's a person who's considered to be the least welcome as related to corporate America and the workforce. He's considered to be the least welcome from my experience. And he's not, again, there because of his qualifications. He's there, again, to prove a point that racists have about their perceptions of black people. He's there basically to be somebody that could, after they prove their point, they can go out here and use that as an excuse and a broad brush to generalize other black people as being not able to work well in their offices. That's one of the things that they want to do, again, when they hire a black person, especially a heterosexual black man. Again, you're not being hired to keep this job, and it's a miracle that you do. And that's where I understood, again, when it came down to these jobs, and when you're a heterosexual black man, don't ever think that you're going to be able to keep that job. And you have to understand, when you get on these jobs, every day may possibly be your last day. So what you got to do is have a contingency plan of side hustles and other things going on, because you can't count on these corporate jobs or these other type of jobs out here, because many of these people, again, are not hiring you based on your ability, but because, again, they want to see their agenda. Their agenda is to see if a black person go out here and fail, and then go out here and say that their whole point was proven about black people being lazy, about black people not being slow, and black people, again, not being able to do their jobs more effectively as a white person that or a non-black person. They want to be able to see that idea come to life, and they want to use you as the example to be able to have that excuse to make, so that they won't be able to hire black people. And they basically, again, want to, again, use you, again, not because you're the best employee, but because you're the best person that would fit their ideas, and fit the ideas, again, as related to their axioms that they want to have proven to them. And once they get those axioms proven to them, this is what they use to, again, maintain their system of white supremacy in the workforce. Now, if you want to learn more about how to identify all sorts of issues in the workplace, you can pick up my book, Stop Simping in the Workplace, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find Stop Simping in the Workplace at other online booksellers like Draft Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to see me make more videos about the workplace, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, John Haynes, the man with nothing to lose. The man who rules the world runs into the irresistible force of a man with nothing to lose in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get the regular and variant editions of John Haynes, the man with nothing to lose, on Amazon.com today. Support black-owned and black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.